You're listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Get the knowledge you need to advance your mortgage practice quickly and efficiently from Jen Du Plessis, America's mortgage mastery mentor with over 37 years of experience and over $1 billion in lifetime fundings. Jen has been mentoring loan officers and realtors for over 15 years and speaking on stages across the globe. So settle in and get ready as Jen and her guests share their experience, passion, and strategies to help you crack the top producer code to reach new heights in your business. And now, here's your host, Jen Du Plessis, Mortgage Mastery Mentor and head chick in charge of Kinetic Spark Consulting.
Hey there, and welcome back to this episode. I am so delighted to have you here today. I'm your host, Jen Du Plessis, and I want to thank you, as I always do, for taking time out of your busy day to listen into this podcast, whether you're listening at half speed because I talk so fast, or whether you're listening at triple speed because you don't want to listen to everything I have to say. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. And I want to remind everybody, click on the links below. We have lots of goodies that our guests give and lots of giveaways and lots of events that are coming up, retreats, and you name it, it's happening. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Doesn't take anything but a click of your wrist, click of your thumb, and there you go. So I just want to say thank you so much. And today I want to invite our guest, Jannette Anderson, to our show. Jannette, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm super happy to be here because I love hanging out with you, Jen. You are the ball of inspiration.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I look like I'm a ball of inspiration, but when I get home, I'm exhausted, right? And I'm very much a private person. I put on all my sweats and all that good stuff. And I don't like doing social media. I don't like doing all that stuff. And I know that's what we're talking about today. So let me give everyone the opportunity to meet you by giving a short bio about you. I love what you're called, by the way. You're known as, or I like to call it, affectionately known as the maturepreneur woman or maven. And I love that. I love that so much. It attracts, it's attracted to me specifically, but, you ensure that 55 plus people are able to grow their businesses in a market where they're invisible and maybe feeling undervalued. And this is why you've taken on this path of saying, hey, I want to, have a conversation with people about social media. It's okay. I have your hand. It's not going to hurt you, right? So I love that you do that, and a very short bio, but we'll have your full bio in here. So welcome, again, welcome to the show. So I want to dig in right away and talk a little bit about you. What is, and I know we're going to be talking about the why whisperer that you are called. You're called the why whisperer, and you're going to explain to us that. But why are you doing what you're doing now? And tell us a little bit about your history, your past that brought you to where you are today.
Oh, how do I do all that so quick? Let's see. Okay, so
you have time. Don't worry.
Okay, so no, but I have lots of stories, so I have to be careful how many stories I get into. So I started out. I came out of the womb carrying a briefcase. I'm pretty sure because I was entrepreneurial my whole life. I grew up with a lot of drama, trauma, and so forth. My mom, lots of addictions. My mom was married 5 times, 4 times before I was 8. Moved 27 times in the first 29 years of my life. Lots of that, lots of stories and overcoming. And so I became very responsible and very mature very fast. I became the parent really by the time I was 5. And my first businesses were, my very first business was a garage sale when I was 5 because I really wanted to get the book Heidi, and mom said we had no money. So I thought, okay, I'll have a business. And I hauled everything I could out onto the lawn and sold it and made $13.72, which I remember to this day. Couldn't tell you what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can tell you how much I made on my first.
Right, isn't that the truth, right?
And because the kids don't overcomplicate things. Problem, no money, solution, go get money. And so I did, but I wasn't very successful. My mom spanked me and took away my money because I sold a whole bunch of our stuff without permission. and I had to go buy it back and I didn't get back my toy. So many people would say that wasn't a very successful first entrepreneurial venture, but I think it was, because I learned two really important lessons. One is don't go into business with family. I'm kind of kidding, but not really. The second thing was that we can take our destiny into our own hands and we can solve the problems of having a yes life through entrepreneurship, through business, through providing value to the world. You can create a yes life instead of a no life. And that's what I became very committed to, like literally at 5 years old. That wasn't formulated as a business strategy fully yet, but I got viscerally my purpose in the world was to support people in creating a yes life. And the rest of my why, as I call it, is that I want you to get that you matter and live like you do. And that's my why, because of course, it's what I always longed for. I wanted to get on the list, never mind the top of the list. I just wanted to get on the damn list. And being that being such a deep longing is part of why I want to be the source of that for people in the world. I did a bunch of healing work after all of the, drama of my childhood, etc. Learned to facilitate personal development courses, did that for about almost 4 decades now. Love facilitating that personal transformation work, taught coaching certification programs, all while working with entrepreneurs, especially professional service people or service professionals, to help them sell what they know and to be really effective. Those two worlds converged and really became a passion for me in the last kind of 20 years of supporting people to really live into their purpose in a way that supports them and that they can profit themselves and other people from. And so that's where the Why Whisperer came about. It's my definition of your why is a bit different. It's not, you can think of it as purpose or mission, but I call it the intersection between what you're healing from the past and what you long for the future, for yourself and others. What you're healing from the past and what you long for the future. When we know our why, which I think is the thread that goes through the tapestry of our life, Jan, then we can use it to guide our strategy, to decide who we want to work with, who you want to marry, what you want to do in your life, who you want to be, and how you can live into that. And so I'm pretty passionate about supporting people in figuring that out. It's also a really good tool for differentiating yourself when you're in the market and there's a million people who do what you do. It's a really good tool for getting out of bed in the morning, which on the entrepreneurial journey is really important to have.
Yes.
Because there are days where getting out of bed is a monumental feat. And so I love doing the work that I do. I'm still stupidly in love with it after 40 years, more than 40 years now. And now my focus has shifted a bit from working predominantly with women to working with maturepreneurs, because that's who I am now. And that's what I see. You buy a yellow Volkswagen, all you see is yellow Volkswagens. As I became older and became aware of ageism, it was like, well, that nonsense has to stop. There's millions and millions of maturepreneurs around the world coming into the marketplace, and there's really nowhere for them to go and very little support and lots of invisibility to overcome. And that's just not smart for a world where, we can't afford to lose that wisdom workforce.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, you bring up a really good point. I just heard a statistic that 500,000 businesses are created every day in the world. And, if we look at the demographics, right, age demographics and things like that, there is a lion's share of maturepreneurs that are coming into that, because it's the second, I don't even call it a career, because, I always talk about the transformation from career to a lifestyle, right? And, that I don't want to be caught in the minutia of the daily grind. I want to be living my business, my life, and tapping into my business. And that's a path, right? That has to happen. But I think there's some more seasoned people, more veterans, who are starting businesses because they're finished with that long career. They're exhausted, they're tired, especially women, kind of crawling up those ladders. They're exhausted and they're tired, but they're not done yet. And I love one of the things that you say is, too fired up to retire, right? Too far. Isn't that what you say? Too fired up to be retired.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Too fired up or too inspired to retire. Either one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think that that's the way it is, and I think that people are working longer. They want to work longer. They don't want to have dormant lives. You know, my father always said it's better to wear out than to rust out, and I think that's really important. And I think that we're just getting started. So, yeah. So I like this journey that you had. Take us back just a little bit because I want to get a full understanding of what did you do in your career before you started doing this as your career?
Well, and I've had 4 iterations of my business, and every once in a while I forget and go, "Ooh, benefits and steady income, what a novel concept." And I go back into corporate, and then I go, "Ha, I remember why I hate this.
Yeah.
Politics and bureaucracy and BS, oh my," and I leave, and then I go start my business again. So I have spent way more time in my business than I have in
Corporate.
corporations, but I had roles ranging from print press operator to VP of professional services. Um, I think the most corporate job I had was the last one I had, and that was basically um, went through a lot of different roles in that company and rose up quickly through the ranks. Was at one point holding down 2 temporary VP of professional services roles, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, for a Fortune 500 company in Canada, and literally worked 72 days without a break, 16 hours a day, every day. And put together, in addition to doing that, put together the biggest sale in in the company's history, a
Yeah.
$1.2 million sale. And they fired me because they were having a rough quarter and they didn't want to pay out the $120,000 in commission. Now, I that basically was a devastating experience for me. I had kind of bumped my head against that glass ceiling and had done a tremendous amount of work for the company and was extremely frustrated and sad with the betrayal, what felt like a real betrayal to me,
Oh, yeah.
and did not have it in me because I was so burnt out to litigate and go after the $20,000 in expenses and the 120 in commission and so forth. So ended up having a tremendous financial setback as well as personal, emotional, in every way. It took me quite a while to get back the energy to start my business again. Of course, I started it right away because I had to.
Right.
But it took me quite a while to get it going and to start rising out of those ashes and create the business that I created, which happened to be an event planning business in Toronto. And it took resilience. It took a lot of having to, because there was no other option. I wasn't married. I didn't have any other income options. And there's a lot to be said for having to do something because your back's against the wall. And it's not a lifestyle I would advocate because it's very,
Yeah.
very hard. Right. And
Yeah.
so my journey since then, that was 2001, actually. I was permanently cured of working in corporate from that point forward and have been really, passionately on my path of building this business since then, and really inspired about the process and the journey. Learned lots of lessons, and I can give you both the victim and the accountable version of that story. The accountable version was I knew they had a history of firing people in order to save money when they were struggling, etc. And I didn't do anything to stave it off, even though I could have. So there's always 2 sides to every story.
Yeah.
But what I really did was, the breakthrough after that was A, 100% clear on my path. B, a lot more resilient once I healed the burnout and the depression, really, the just the real sadness of it all. And 3, came back really strongly committed to now what? Who am I if I'm not that? And getting really strong and powerful at reinvention, which is a big part of the work that I've been doing ever since then, is helping people
Well,
reinvent.
and I think that, sales professionals, business owners, entrepreneurs, they all go through the now what and, taking the next step and getting through the ups and downs and, all arounds about business because most people who have not been an entrepreneur think that entrepreneurs are, first, they're crazy. Two is that, they go straight up, and they don't go straight up. And just like in corporate America, you don't always go straight up and get promotions. You have demotions, you have to make lateral moves, which is a demotion. It just, we have to recognize that that's what happens, and, just the ability to come over it. I love the word resilience. I was just talking to someone a few minutes ago, and I said, they said, what's a word, that really explains you? And I said, resilient. That really is a great word. Okay, so so you have this passion for this, and so let's talk about it. And it's a different why. You help people with information-based marketing, and a lot of people don't really even understand what that is. But how does that tie into this passion you have for helping people? Is it that you don't want people to go through what you went through? Is it that you don't want them to have the ups and downs? Give us, it's not really so much about that. Why is, how did you make that transition into, because I would think you'd be doing healing work, or, breakthroughs or whatever, but this is very tangible. This is, hey, let's do some information-based marketing. So help us understand that, and then tell us what it is. Tell us what information-based marketing is.
All right. So my the way I brought my two loves together, that internal work, the facilitating the personal transformation, doing the coaching certification programs, and the external work of business startup and turnaround, predominantly marketing, sales, and strategy. Those are my two passions and loves. And the way I bring those together is in the work I do, I spend as much time getting the 4 inches between their ears working as getting some of the tactical and practical business stuff working. Because if we don't have, like, we're our business's biggest obstacle and biggest asset. And if we've got limiting beliefs, we got to lift those anchors, or the business isn't going to go anywhere. It doesn't matter how much SEO you throw at something or how much marketing you do, you're not going to get clients if you've got limiting beliefs around what you deserve, who you are, what your value is, all of that. So I do both work in everything I do. It's how I roll. I think it's not a party till someone's crying. And basically, I do a lot of the internal work and processing as I support them with the business. But we also got to do the practical, tactical things. And a big part of working, especially with women, but with any professional who wants to be seen and heard and grow their business, they have to be seen and heard. We compete in a global world now. And like, if you're a coach, or if you're a real estate agent, or if you're a chiropractor, you may have demographic reach and influence, but you also compete on a global marketplace. And one of the ways that works the best to rise above the noise, because if you advertise, you're essentially just being a commodity. They're comparing you to the next person who's advertising to the next person. And why would I put one or the other, right? And so what information-based marketing does is it allows you to educate your audience. It allows you to get your perspective and your point of view across. It allows you to add value so that they feel like you've actually contributed to them before they've even met you. And that makes you an ally rather than just another pitcher, another vendor, another commodity provider. And so whatever your profession is, if you can educate clients, they automatically, you are now an ally. And so that's why that approach to marketing works. It was very popular long time ago, and has kind of gone out of fashion a little bit as people are inundated with things. But truly, people never want to stop learning. And if they are looking for a solution, they really want a way to be able to figure out, how do I make this decision? Because that's one of the biggest, scariest things is, how do I choose if I'm buying a car? How do I choose which vehicle to go with? If I'm buying a coach, how do I decide which is the best coach for me? Information-based marketing can do a lot to help them with that decision. And the thing that I actually really advocate that everybody needs is a decision-based marketing piece that helps them to specifically choose what you do and give them a criteria for that. So for instance, I have an ebook on how to choose the right business coach for you. Because if they're looking for a business coach and they get this ebook and it gives them a criteria, now they have a filter to be able to make a really important, very sometimes expensive decision. And that makes me their ally. And by the way, guess what? I've also given them a filter that supports my positioning it's objective. It is questions you should ask every coach, but it positions me really favorably.
Yeah. Well, and so really what you're talking about is just the difference between a decision tree, right? Because that's what you're doing, is moving people through that roadmap of making a decision. If this, then this, why that. So a decision tree, as opposed to an emotional knee-jerk reaction, to buy a shiny object.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
decision tree that comes in with it. And that information-based marketing helps people make that decision because it's part of that process. Yeah, okay, so I love that. So, and for you, that helps you, but it also helps, people that you're serving as well. And especially when everything's coming at us, like right now on Facebook, all I'm doing is getting puppy dog videos. Apparently I've gotten too much into puppy dog videos, and now that's all I'm seeing, which I'm going, okay, stop. I don't want to see those anymore. And I'm getting a little bit of, I'm getting inundated with all of this and saying, now I'm going to back off from the whole thing. But so let's bring this down to, so that's philosophical, all that's, very philosophical. Let's bring this down to the actual implementation of it for those that are listening here and saying, okay, I've got a business, I have a product, I have a service, I have something that I am selling. What kind of steps do I need to be taking so that I can step into information-based marketing instead of at you marketing?
Yes. So one of the things is take a look at what you receive that you respond to. So if someone is giving away a infographic on, the roadmap or the blueprint for fast tracking your social media, and you download it because you think it's very valuable, take a look. What are you responding to?
Mhm.
One of the things that I would recommend is what's important and trending right now is things that are fast. It used to be people wanted volume of content, so they wanted big ebooks or they wanted lots of white papers or heavy duty content. Now they want things that are quick and consumable. I say it needs to, the criteria I have, it has to be consumable in one trip to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And so if you've got something that is handy and helps them, a tool or a tip or something that saves them time, they're going to want it. They're going to download it. So it could be something as simple as you're a home organizer and you give them 10 tips for decluttering your kitchen. And it's a checklist that they can download with your branding on the bottom. And they go ahead and do some of that. And while they're doing it, they're feeling a little overwhelmed. Who are they most likely to call to come help them? You, because they've got it in their hand, your number and your information. Or you're a real estate agent that's trying to differentiate yourself in the marketplace, or someone who works with mortgages and you want to stand out. Well, give them the top 10 questions you have to consider, or the top 10 pieces of information you have to have in place before you can apply for a mortgage.
Yeah.
Sorry about thinking.
And all that's out there, it's already out there, that kind of stuff, 18 mistakes this and 25 things you should do before you, choose a partner in life. And, like all of that's out there. So what makes it different? I mean, what are you suggesting? Because the first thing I'm thinking of is I'm not going to paper, although might say, if you want the full list, go ahead and click here, or IM me, or go to this website and pick it up. That way, someone, you're doing some lead capture. But I'm almost hesitant to do that kind of thing because it's just fallen on deaf ears as well. And people download them and forget where they downloaded them, don't print them, this, that, and the other.
Yes.
As opposed to saying, hey, everybody, I'm going to do a video. And instead of a long video, I'm going to do a short video, right? I'm going to tell, I'm here to tell you about the 15 mistakes that you make when you're putting in a door.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, exactly.
and today I'm going to talk about number 2.
Yeah. And so video content is converting very well, of course, but video is not for everyone. Some people don't want to come in front of the camera. They want to be behind the camera. So written stuff can work better. It needs to be something quick and easy. Don't give them 97 steps because that's too daunting. Give them 3. And what I would suggest is that what it does is a few things. One, you mentioned opting in. So with a lead magnet, the benefit of it is that they get on your list, your mailing list.
Mhm.
Once they're on your mailing list, that's the first step. The second step is that you then nurture that relationship. What does that mean? You send them emails, you invite them to a next step with you, you invite them to something where they can get to know you better. The point of all of this is for you to fast track the know, like, trust.
Yeah.
And you need to have them get a sense of you, know you, add value, and then continue to add value until they reach out and connect with you. And the whole point of this is for you to actually connect with them so that you can say, here's how I can help you. What do you need? Here's how I can support you with that. And so it builds your list. It gives you the ability to have influence, because influence is your ability to reach out and actually connect with people and invite them further into your world and into your funnel, is what we call it in marketing. So it helps you build your list. It helps you create more influence. It positions you as an authority. You're the one who's putting this out, whether it's a book or a video or whatever. You're the expert in that subject. So it fast tracks credibility, but it also helps you start a conversation. And all marketing is a conversation with one person about something they care about. If you're doing that, then you're being effective in your marketing. If you're trying to talk to everyone at the same time, you're not.
Not
And if
talking to anybody. No, you're not talking to anybody. Okay, so, so I want to just make sure that we don't gloss over this, this particular thing, because I hear this a lot with a lot of business owners and salespeople or sales professionals, is that, I put this out there and they responded, so now I'm going to go for the throat. And I will tell you, and I've said it on this show, I don't know how many times, someone wants to connect with me because I'm an influencer, so I get a lot of requests. Someone wants to connect with me and I say, yeah, that kind of looks like a good connection. I hit connect. Yep. Accept. And 2 seconds later, I have an IM that says, I've looked at your website and I would like to help you get more of this, that, and the other. You don't know my problem. You don't know my ailment. You're shoving pills down my throat.
Exactly.
I immediately disconnect. So that's like, heed my warning here. Because if anybody ever does that, I'm out. I'm totally out. So they're missing all that great stuff in between,
Yes. And
instant gratification.
Yeah, I talk about it from the point of view of, think of it like dating. When you're dating someone, typically you don't walk up to a stranger and stick your tongue down their throat. That would be rude. So don't do that in your marketing. Nor do you ask them to marry you on the first date. Like, you get to know each other. You find out if you're a fit. You find out, do you like them? Do you want to work with them? Do they like you? Do they want to work with you? And by like, I don't necessarily mean we're best friends. I mean, do I trust them? Can I get value from them? And vice versa. And so, yeah, don't jump right to sale. Actually, and this is where I think there's a disconnect. People talk about relationship marketing, develop a relationship. Well, what does that mean? To me, a relationship is someone I pick up the phone and say, hey, do you want to go to a movie this Friday? Or I would invite to my birthday party. That's a relationship. That's not what you're developing. What you're doing is finding out who they are, how you can add value, and letting them know how you can support them when it's appropriate. That's a relationship. So that means that you actually care, you talk to them, you find out more about them. And in the course of that conversation, like you would if you weren't being a jerk at a
Right.
a networking event or a cocktail party, you wouldn't be holding forth, you would be having a conversation. That's developing a relationship. And the more you add value in that relationship, give them additional tips or tools or introduce them to people, find out what they need, the more you become a valuable asset to them. That's a relationship.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. Okay. So I know one of the questions that you wanted me to ask is, what are the 3 things that every entrepreneur needs to do to make their marketing more effective today, right now?
Good question. I forget what my answer to that was, but I'll tell you.
Hey, you know what? It's okay, Jannette, because that's happened to me too. I'm like, I wonder why I put that question in there.
Exactly. I forgot that question was there. That's so funny. All right. So what do they need? Number one, they need to be clear on who they serve and how they serve them. Because if you're not, like, you may think you know who your target market is or your ideal client or whatever you want to call it. But if those are not people, I call it the beer and wine rule. If those are not people that you would want to sit down and have a glass of beer or wine with, they're probably not your people. And if they're not responding, they're probably not your people. So you really got to be clear on that. The second thing is, why you? So I call it the 3 whys and a what. Why do you do what you do? If we don't know what our purpose is, if we don't know why we do what we do, then we're being pushed by shoulds and have tos. B, not different than anyone else who's doing it, because we're now just comparing certificates and so on. So why do you do what you do? Be very clear on that. 3, why should they pick you versus the other people they can work with? And that needs to be more than, well, I've got 20 years experience. So what? That person has 30. So what? That person has 10, but they're smarter than you. Like, why should they actually work with you? That's where your why comes in handy, your purpose, but also really, what is the value that you add? Not what is your value as a human being, especially women tend to conflate those two. What's the value that you add and provide? And then why do they need what you have? And that means, what are the benefits of it, not the features? 99% of you will start telling me what you do and how you do it, but not what it will do for me. And I know this is a cliche, but I can tell you seriously, at least 95% of the websites I look at or the marketing I look at is all about you. It's not about what's in it for me. And so that positioning doesn't work. It doesn't convert as well. It's not helpful. So what's in it for them? And then I call it 3 whys and a what. What do you sell? How do you package, price, and position that in a way that A, aligns and fits for you in terms of who you really are? Because cookie cutters are meant for cookies, not for business models and not for entrepreneurs. So if someone's trying to sell you a cookie cutter solution, run, don't buy it, because it may or may not fit for you. So what do you sell? How do you do that in a way that aligns with you? If you're not clear on your 3 whys and a what, that's why you're not making money and progressing. And many of you think you are, but you're not. So go take a look.
I think that's real. You know, I think that's real. But okay, so what I've gotten from this, I just want to make sure, is number 1, be clear, right, on who you are and who you serve and how you serve, right? Number 2 is the 3 whys plus the what. So what's number 3?
Oh, well, that I was saying the 3 whys and a what are the 3 things that,
Oh, okay.
and the third one, though, if we did it that way, the be clear and have your 3 whys and a what organized. The third one is, what support do you need to actually go out there and take the action that you need? You know, when they build a high rise, they dig a really big foundational hole for it. If you want to build something bigger, I guarantee you need a bigger support platform for it. And if you don't have a plan for how you're going to increase the support, your building will either topple over or you just can't get it built. So what is the support that you need in place, and what's your practical plan for increasing that so you can increase your results?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I'm giggling about that because so many times when I was in the mortgage business, I would say, you know, about business planning is, you wouldn't go to Home Depot and just say, "Ooh, that's on sale, and let me get a poinsettia because it's Christmas," and "Ooh, that flashlight looks cool," and "Ooh, I like that light." You wouldn't just go through and look at a bunch of shiny objects, grab them all together, and then go out to your property and throw them on the ground and say, "Let it be written, let it be done." You have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. And I love this concept of digging that deep hole to create the stability that you need. And again, if we go back to your decision-making methodology, right, of saying, hey, let's be people that aren't making rash decisions, but we're, being really, really cognizant and intentional in every decision that we're making to ensure that this building will look gorgeous and will stand the test of time, right? And it's being that I don't want to say intuitive, but discerning, right? Real discerning about everything you do. Those are beautiful. I love that. I wanted to ask you, I know that you're working with, 55 plus for, so if you're listening to this and you're 55 plus, you're saying, okay, so what is it that you do that makes you unique to working with 55 plus? Why would someone want to work with you if they're 55, and just saying, okay, well, I've got someone who's 40 and I got someone, who will help me because I'm 55, but what is it specifically that you do for them? And maybe the question is really, what do you love so much about working with people that are older, and why you're doing that?
Well, there's so many answers to the why I care about this. The short version of it is, having been the brunt of ageism, I really get that it's a thing. It's not notional, and it is something that gets in the way for a lot of people, and especially women over 60, well, over 50 really, become literally invisible. And I think that, yeah, exactly. And you're not an invisible woman. But
But
there
I'm
are
over 60
times,
now. Yeah.
yes, and
Yeah.
there are still times when even those of us who are not invisible are still overlooked and
Yeah.
still not seen, and it's like, huh, that's a thing. How do we not have that be a thing? So part of it is cause, part of it is this is the biggest cohort to come into the world, in the business world, ever in history in
Yeah.
terms of new entrepreneurs. There's millions and millions of boomers and Gen Xers who are now starting businesses. So that 500,000 a day number is going to go way up. And there's very little support for them. So from a really practical point of view, I got you. I'm here. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've got you, and I know what you need to do to actually make that transition and that leap. The third reason is I am the poster child for this. I'm 64 and hashtag not done by a long shot. And the people I talk to who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s who are too inspired to retire, or who can't afford to retire, or both, which is most of those people are both, um, those people inspire the heck out of me. And so I am really motivated to support them in getting that out into the world, whatever the difference they want to make in philanthropy, in thought leadership, in business, in whatever way. So, that's why I have the podcast. That's why I'm creating events, etc., for them, because there isn't a place for them to be and belong yet. There's lots of stuff for people who are retiring, but very little for those who are refiring.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so,
I love that. Don't retire, refire.
exactly.
Yeah. It's funny. It reminds me of a friend of mine. His name is Brian Smith. He's the founder of UGG Boots. And Brian, for so long, every time that he's been speaking on stage, and he's like $25,000 for a keynote. And when he's speaking on stage, he, is talking about the lessons learned, in creating UGG Boots, selling it really poorly. He all that you see with UGG boots, he never got a part of it. Never got a part.
Huh.
So yeah, he just didn't do it right. He just was misguided, didn't understand, didn't have the skill set, whatever it is. And he tells this story about how he had to reinvent himself and recreate and figure out. And recently he was at an event speaking with me. We were both speaking at the event, and he said, hey Jen, I want to run this by you, because he's been on this podcast as well. He said, I want to run this by you. He goes, what do you think of this new topic that I'm talking about? And it's really interesting because he's really just reinvented himself, and now he's not taking as many speaking gigs just for money to
Mhm,
talk about UGG boots.
mhm,
But he's now saying, listen to this other message I have, because I have this. Well, I always say in our lives, we learn, we earn, and then we want to return.
mhm,
And he's past the learn and earn, and he's now in the stage of, I want to give back. I
mhm.
want to return back, and I want to share all the wisdom, that I have. And I saw a meme not too long ago that said, by the time you're old enough to have the wisdom to share with everyone, you can't remember what it is.
Well, that's kind of true, but not really for a lot of people.
I know it is, and
But
it's
it's
funny.
very cute.
But that's what
Um,
he's doing, is giving
yeah,
back. And I think that's probably what makes you, fired up, is just seeing, all the wisdom that comes with an entrepreneurship, and listen, if you're listening and you're a young entrepreneur, go find a mentor who is an older entrepreneur, because they have so much more wisdom and they can get you there faster.
yes, absolutely. And I think that there is, I love your, I wrote it down, the learn, earn, return. I think the other thing that we're returning, though, is I think a lot of the initial part of life comes from shoulds and have tos and obligations, and I need to provide for a family, and on, and all of those expectations. When we get to this age, it's a choose to get to life.
Yeah.
And yes, we still may have the need to earn income and so forth, but it still comes from more of a space of choose to get to. And I think that there is so much freedom in that, but also room for innovation, for recreation, and for returning that value to the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a powerful, powerful place to be. And it's a powerful place to be for people who don't think they have any power anymore. And so that's what I want to really remind people of, is there's tons of power available when we actually wake up to the fact that the world is changing,
Yeah,
and changing
that's
a lot.
beautiful.
You know, we used to retire at 65 and be dead 5 years later. Now, I was talking to a woman at 68. She said, I only want to work hard for another 10 years and then I'll start to slow down.
Right.
The new sensibility. And we
Yeah.
have to get used to the fact that most of us are going to live 30, 40 years past retirement.
Yeah. And, you know, we want our money to live with us, you know, and, right. We don't want
And
to
most
be in
people
those.
don't have enough for
No,
that.
they don't. And that's why they have to work, right? So
Yeah.
they're still in the haves. You know, my uncle just passed away, the one who called me Jenny, who ain't got a penny, right after you and I got off the marketers cruise, this year. And, you know, he passed away at 90. He worked until about a year and a half ago, and his purpose was gone.
Mhm.
His purpose was gone. And I said, you know, if his, and he said, if my body didn't give out physically, his shoulder was hurting, he fell a couple times, you know, but he's like, if my body didn't give out, I would have still been working.
Mhm.
And, you know, and so what we have to do is that we're talking about everything in our mind here, but we have to remember to keep track of what's going on physically with us too, because our minds may continue to live, you know, past 100. Gosh, my grandbaby who was just born 10 months ago, he's expected to live to be 130 or something. And, you know, our minds may be able to get us there, but physically we won't, or physically we can, and our minds are sharp. So we need to be really careful about both, you know, at early ages, because man, does it sneak up. It's like, whoa, if you had stopped doing that 15 years ago, you wouldn't be where you're at here.
Yes.
And so we do have to remember that. So Jannette, the last question I want to ask you, well, there's a couple quickie little things, but the last question I want to ask you is, what's next for you?
Mm.
I'm going
Uh,
to reverse coach you.
yeah, I am super excited about becoming the poster child for this movement. And it actually is a movement of
Yeah.
awareness around the fact that society is changing. And I am really excited about going from 6 figures to 7 figures, because I'm like, I haven't ever been truly motivated to make a lot of money, despite growing up with a lot of scarcity. I grew up with a lot of just enoughness, and that's been the story a lot of my life. Just enough, just you know, and live a story life. That's been my primary focus. And I have tremendous stories, 36 countries and counting, you know, lots of experiences that are bucket list experiences. And so that for me was the abundance of life. It still is. And I want to go from 6 figures to 7 figures in 18 to 24 months, from the age of 63 to 65, because there are so many people who believe it's too late. They're in that position where they can't afford to retire, and they're in a tremendous amount of despair and fear that I can't be okay. And so they, you know, they leave, they check out, they do all sorts of things. I want to be the poster child for saying it's never too late. If you're on this side of the earth, you can earn and you can, you know, make whatever you want. You can create whatever you want. You can grow your business, and you can start late and still have enough time to actually be this version of successful.
Yeah. So I'm a buzzword kind of girl. Yeah. It's like start late and be great, because
Ah,
yeah, you know,
yeah,
that's exactly, you know, you can start late and be great,
yeah,
not still be great. You can
yeah,
start late and be great.
yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I wrote it down too. Awesome.
Good. I won't remember it because all I do is throw these things out, you know, quite a bit. Jannette, for those that are listening, if they want to connect with you and say, hey, help me do this, what is the best way for them to connect with you aside from the gift that you're giving? Well, let's talk about the gift first. Let's talk about what is the gift you're going to give to our listeners, and we'll have the link in the show notes.
Awesome. I have like a simple little training. Basically, it's a workbook, it's some examples, and it's a video on how to create a buying criteria lead magnet, the thing I was talking about earlier,
Mhm.
and how it just walks you through how to identify, how to come up with great titles, how to figure out your topic, and a structure and a format for laying it out so that it makes it super easy. So it's a master class that you can get for free, and the link to that will be in the notes that you can go and take a look at. But it's basically a training that will help you create that if you haven't already, or help you make it the one you have better.
Awesome. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for doing that. And what is the best way for someone to reach out to you if they're saying, hey, I'm not ready to be an influencer. I just kind of want to, maybe I'm 55 plus and I don't have no clue what I'm going to do. I have a problem. I have cobwebs here. I got to figure it out.
Well, and one of the things that I want to say that is a value add in there is if you actually do the work, then if you contact me, there's contact information in there. I will give you feedback on your lead magnet about what works and doesn't. That consultation is worth a lot of value, but I want to incent you to actually do the work. You can't call me if you haven't done the work. Otherwise, they can reach out to me and simply I'm on social media, Jannette Susan Anderson on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. But really the best way, because I often don't look at my LinkedIn messages, is to just email me. Jannette, JANNETTE at Bodacity, BODACITY, sorry, .ca. Sorry, got me all choked up there.
I always say I'm choking on my own spit. That's exactly. Look, there's no pull. I don't pull any punches about anything. I just flat out say what it is. Okay, well, we'll have the link in there. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. We'll have the link in there so that everybody, can get that information and contact you if that's what they choose to do. So thank you so much, Jannette, for giving us all this wonderful wisdom today, from a worldly woman. And we appreciate it. And it's been great getting to know you better. We've been on the Marketers Cruise. We said hi, we've had dinner, kind of sat around each other together. Maybe we went on something together at some point, but it sure is nice to just be able to connect with you, in a stronger way, even more than our one-to-one that we had. So I appreciate you being on the show. And for those of you listening, thank you so much for, again, taking the time. Now put it into action. I'm always talking about action is go grab her free gift, reach out to her, go snoop about her. If you'd love to have her speak at one of your events or something that you're doing, I think that's really good. There's plenty of opportunities for you to get more of Jannette. So thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Be sure to subscribe to hear more sales tips, ideas, strategies, and tactics to help you with your personal and professional growth to multiply your results in record time. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to give us a rating and review so we can continue to bring you the best content possible. Wanting more beyond the podcast? Join our Mortgage Lending Mastery membership community, where you will find extended interviews with our favorite guests, weekly training, tips, and insider secrets, fireside chats with Jen, free content, meet, share, and collaborate with other members, and so much more. Click the link in the show notes to learn more about this exclusive content. Mortgage Lending Mastery is an Industry Syndicate charter podcast. Industry Syndicate is the first podcast network specifically for the mortgage and real estate industries. Get the Industry Syndicate app in the App Store or Google Play today.